Hey guys, it's Georgia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If y'all are new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be deconstructing a couple of the cloth COVID face masks and using the spare fabric to turn them into little coin purses. So yeah, I hope you guys like this, and yeah, let's get started. So this is going to be the first mask that I'm going to be using. It's just a blue paisley mask with tie-on earlobes. I use this so that my ears could stop hurting at my coffee shop job over COVID, because having that and my glasses and a headband and a headset was very annoying. So I'm just starting this by removing all of the little seams so I get my two pieces of fabric. That needed to start by me getting rid of those little loops on each end of the bag, or not bag, of the mask that held the strings in place. These are not salvageable. I'm not really able to use them for anything, so I don't really need to be too careful, because if I rip all the fabric, I can just throw it away like I was planning to anyway. But once I did have those gone, I can go ahead and start removing the dimension of the mask. So I'm getting rid of all those little pleats so I can have the nice flat piece of fabric. Making sure that I don't rip it at this point, because I do want to salvage all of this fabric. So I have enough to make my design. With it all flat, I can go ahead and just separate the two pieces. This part I did just end up going straight down, sort of. They had a hem that sewed them together, and then one that held each piece of the fabric in place, so that didn't come up and blow in your face, so that the strings weren't everywhere. So it's really just going across a straight line of thread, making sure to get every last stitch and doing my best not to poke any holes in the fabric, or if I did poke one, trying to make it as small as possible so I could still use it. For any sort of upcycling project, you need to just get rid of all of the dimension, unless you're just making it a little smaller, adding something. So since I'm just straight using the fabric, not any other part of the mask, I didn't really need any of the dimensions, the chin strap, the pleats on the side, any of it. But now that I had that all set and ready, I'm just going through and picking up all of the little strings. I did go over it with a lint roller off camera later, but to get the bigger ones, it was very easy to just sort of peel off and just have the lint roller catch whatever I couldn't. And now that I have the fabric for that one ready, I can do the second mask. This mask is a children's mask. It's made a little differently, and it is a different size. So this one has almost this giant elastic just around the whole outside, covering the ears. So I'm just going through, getting rid of all that to start, since I can't see what the actual fabric looks like really. Once I had all that gone, I can go in doing the same process, getting rid of any little bits of dimension that I saw there. There weren't really that many on this one, just the two sides. And then I did not expect these to be sewn together, but I did just, fold it inside out to remove the two pieces of fabric from each other, so that I have a front and a back. This piece is much smaller than the original, since it was a kid's mask, so I'm just going to be needing to use something different for the interior, but I now have the outside of both my bags, and I can start setting it up. So I'm going to be using the little coin purse. I think that was the best option, because it's a pretty good size, and it will work with the masks. Once I find the piece I needed, I am just pinning it onto one side, but making sure it can fit both ways. This is where I realized it would have helped a lot if I just took the 5 seconds it took to iron it. But I'm just pinning down the pattern as best I can and cutting it. Since this isn't clothing, I wasn't really too worried about the size, since it would all line up eventually. And I'm just going to repeat that process on the other side. In the future, I would recommend folding this in half, so you can just cut once, and that you don't have to struggle like I did to try and make that last one fit. So this one I did just fold over, pinning it the exact same way, just through two pieces of fabric instead of one, and just cutting around the edges. The last thing I did on this one was I just cut on the fold line, so I had the two separate pieces of fabric and not just one giant one. With those ones all done, I'm going in to do the orange mask. Like I said, this one is too small to make two parts of either one, so I'm just making sure I can get that mouth, whiskers, nose, cat face, whatever type of face it's supposed to be. I want that to be centered, since I want to keep that part of the original design, and I'm just making sure I get the same amount of fabric from the back of the mask as well. Since this one is not long enough or big enough to do an interior, but I still want to do it, I am just going to go through my bag, and I found I had some extra orange, or not orange, yellow fabric from a previous video. I thought it suited the orange really well, especially since it's a lighter color, so since the orange fabric's a little see-through, it won't be, you know, too bright, it won't mess up any of the design. So I'm just cutting those out, and now I can start putting it together. I'm starting with this blue one using a gray zipper, and the way that you are supposed to do this, since I'm doing a lining, is you put the interior piece face up, zipper, and then the exterior face down. This is so once you sew it and open it up, the hem is on the inside and the zipper has a clear airway. I'm just pinning that in place to make sure it doesn't move, and so I can sew it in a straight line. After I pin anything in any sewing project, I just make sure it's gonna look how I intended to, so I don't have to go and de-stitch again. So I just need to complete the same process on the other side, since it is the same thing, and again making sure it looks how I want it to. So those will be on the outside, open up to the inside, and here we go with the orange, doing the same process. I did find a pink zipper for this one. I thought it suited the little nose really well. I know it's not the exact same color, but I still think it's cute. Again, making sure that I have the right side face down, and I'm also making sure that the design was flipped upwards, so then when I fold it down and it's out, the cat face is facing the right way, and it's not, you know, an upside down animal. With that first side done, I'm just going to go ahead again and do one last time the same process, just pinning it in place so that I can make the actual bag. This one was, again, I should have ironed it because the fabric was so thin that it was hard to go through. But once I had it in place, I'm just going to go ahead and sew both sides of each of the zippers real quick. Like I do in all of my sewing videos with the machine, I just pull the pins out as they go so that I don't have a whole bunch of pins going through my needle, messing anything up, possibly messing with the stitching. So once I had that all set, going through to do the second one, since I did use t-shirt fabric for part of this, it was a little bit difficult, and I would recommend using some form of an interfacing, which just sort of keeps the fabric the size and shape that you want. That would have made it easier since the t-shirt was a little stretchy and it messed up a little bit. Once I had those all set, I am just pinning 2 straight lines down the sides of the bag so I can sort of prepare the square parts of the bag, making sure to do this on both items. So I'm doing the front to front and the back to back so that, you know, it will fold out, and I have to sew a line across the bottom of the front, but I made sure to leave some space for the ones on the inside. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But I'm just sewing through the straight line down so that I get a nice shape of the bag, and so I can make sure that it is as square as possible rather than doing a line first and possibly having weird angles. Once I had side one done, I'm just doing the other side. For the side that is connected to the outer layer of the bag, I am sewing through the zipper so that it doesn't have a way to go in and get stuck in the bag or stuck off. Once I finish those 2 lines, like I said, I'm just going straight down for the exterior of the bag, giving it a nice seamless hem so that it looks as professional as possible, even though it is just for my sister. And then going through the interior, very similar process, but I'm just making sure to avoid the zipper part on this one. Again, doing the 2 straight lines straight down, but where this one is different is on this inside bottom, I am stopping and leaving about 1.5 inch gap so that I have something to pull the whole project through so the seams stay inside. I don't like when all of the seams are raw on the edges, and it is very hard to fold over twice like most clothes are when the product is so small. So I just figured it was easiest to keep them all as inside as possible. After I did the exact same process on this one, it is time for me to just cut them, flip them out, and finish the job. So with cutting all of the seams, I'm just cutting off all of the extra fabric since it's all going to be inside, and I want it to be as tight as possible. I don't want to be super bulky with a bunch of useless fabric in there. Making sure to cut away from the seam a little bit, not directly on it, just so that I don't break anything that I just sewed. And then I'm just pulling the entire thing through that loop on the inside, and then you pretty much push the interior fabric into the zipper to flatten it out so it looks like a bag and doesn't look like a big oblong rectangle piece of fabric. I did have to go back in and alter the zippers a little bit. In the future, I would not recommend doing this since the zipper was then sort of right at the end. But with it all set, I am just going in and hand stitching that inside part. It just looks a lot cleaner when it's on the inside. No one really is going to judge a bag by what's on the inside, but if I'd hand stitched the whole outside, it might be different shapes, sizes, lengths. It wouldn't be as durable. So this is just to make sure that nothing falls in between those two layers of fabric, because it would be really annoying to have, a penny, a piece of paper, hair tie, anything like that get stuck inside something that you just worked for. Once that's all set, I'm just flipping that bag back inside, all closed up, and she is ready to go, making sure that the zipper still works how I wanted it to. Now that the first one's done, I can go ahead and do that same process to the second. So again, just cutting everything out. I did alter how I cut the zippers a little bit. I figured if I just cut almost straight across the first time and left a little tiny end where the zipper goes, not where it comes from, that it would fix the small issue that I had on the first one. Again, folding it inside out and then just pushing that yellow part inside for the interior. This bag is ready to just be sewn up. Again, making sure that I do the interior hole and not the outside, especially with this t-shirt fabric, since it is much more flexible than the cotton, much more stretchy. It is better to have this on the inside since it won't stretch and rip, and that could rip the fabric, the thread, all of that. So this just gives it its one final clean look. It's not exactly the right size. It is a little bit longer than the outside, but again, it's inside the bag and the bag still works, and that's what I wanted. I do think that both of these are really cute. Like I said, this blue one was for my sister. I didn't originally make it for her, but when I showed it to her, she wanted it, and I figured, what am I going to do with a bunch of coin purses? But yeah, if you guys wanted to see more videos of me upcycling things, not just masks, but I have a bunch of different old shirts, old bags that I want to turn into new things. So just let me know down in the comments or by liking the video if you want to see more videos like this. All of my social medias are linked down below. If you wanted to see more stuff from me and all my friends more regularly than the every 3 weeks I post on here, I also have my Etsy and Mercari link down below if you wanted to buy something that has been in or may be in a future video. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this, and I hope that this helps with any tips or tricks or even just a little inspiration for anyone who likes to upcycle. But hope you guys have a good day. Bye!